Hello, friends. Welcome back to The One Behind the Lens. Today's episode is a solo one, and it's a topic I get asked about a lot: opening a studio. Or, as I like to think, getting the keys. This episode is called The One with the Studio Keys: Opening Your Own Studio, Lessons, Surprises, and What I Do Differently. And before we go any further, I want to say this clearly. A studio is not the right move for everyone. And that doesn't make you less professional, less serious, or less successful. But for me, having a studio has been one of the most grounding parts of my business for the last 12 years. I've had a studio space for a long time now, long enough to have lived through multiple seasons of business, multiple versions of myself, and multiple ways of using the space. I mean, right now, I have a podcast studio in here, and I never thought that that would be part of literally my office area. So today, I want to share what it's actually been like: the good, the surprising, and the things I would absolutely think through differently if I were starting again. Let's start with why I love having a studio. First and foremost, indoor sessions. Nebraska. The weather is unpredictable. You know it. And if you live in a area, a state, a town that is kind of like Nebraska, where one day it can be 50 degrees and the next day it could be snowing, then you know what I'm talking about. So the weather, it's just unpredictable at best. Having a controlled space for headshots, branding sessions, and indoor portraits have been huge. Lighting consistency. No wind, no rescheduling because it's 10 degrees or it's 110 degrees. Clients love knowing there's a backup plan, and honestly, so do I. Another big reason I love having a studio is having a place to meet with clients. There's something really different about sitting across from someone in your own space. Consultations feel calmer, more intentional, and more personal. Again, for me. Clients get to walk in and immediately understand that this isn't just a hobby, it's a business. And I have them see my surroundings. You can't really see any of my work here on the podcast if you're watching on YouTube. Obviously, if you're listening, you can't. But I will have, albums out. I have portraits on the walls. So right away, I know they've probably seen my work online, but they're getting to see it in person, and they're going to get to see those products in person. Having a dedicated space for me is great for work. So I'm not editing at the kitchen table. I'm not storing gear in random, corners of my house, not mentally, separating. So I want to make sure that for me that I'm separating work Kate from home Kate every day. Now, I do want to say that it does bleed. I have a laptop. There are times, in the morning, I do love to be home with a cup of coffee in a comfy chair with my dog. And I do want to get those emails right away. That's the first thing I want to do in the mornings, is to get back to clients who have maybe emailed me the day before or the night before, anything like that. So it does bleed a little bit. But going back, when I do walk into my studio, my brain knows this is where work happens. And when I leave, I try to leave it there, except for those emails in the morning. And the to-do list that I have, it stays here. It's right here. I'm looking right at right now. It stays here at work. I don't take that home. That's my work to-do list, and I do it at work. That separation has mattered more over the years than I actually ever really did expect. Now, I do want to talk the other side because owning a studio is not just vibes and pretty light. You absolutely have to think about overhead, rent, utilities, insurance, maintenance, furniture, supplies. A studio does add pressure. There's no way around that. You can't open a studio and hope it pays for itself. You have to be honest about it. How often you'll actually use it, how it supports your offerings, and whether your pricing can sustain it. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that a studio should support your business, not dictate it. If you find yourself saying yes to work you don't enjoy just to justify the space, that's a red flag. The studio should serve you, not the other way around. So here's something that surprised me. I thought having a studio would automatically make things easier. And in some ways it did. But it also made me more aware of how intentional I need to be with my time, my offerings, and my energy. Empty studio days feel different when rent is still due. And that's something no Instagram post prepares you for. If I were doing it again, here's what I would think through a little bit more carefully. Number one, flexibility. Would I sign the same lease terms? Would I choose the same size space? Would I, have a multi-purpose use sooner? I would ask myself not just, can I afford this now, but will this still work for me in 5 years? Number two, how the studio fits into my offerings. Headshots, brandings, meetings, education. A studio works best when it has a clear role, not when it's just something you feel like you should have. There's no gold star for owning a studio. There's just an alignment or there isn't. And finally, identity. A studio can feel like a milestone, like you've made it. But you're a photographer. It's never been tied to square footage in that role. I've seen incredibly successful photographers with studios and without them. The space doesn't make the work meaningful. You do. So, if you're listening to this and thinking about opening a studio, here's what I want you to ask yourself. First of all, do I want this? Or do I feel like I'm supposed to want this? Does this space support how I want to work or how I think I should work? There's no right answer. It's just there is a right answer, and that's the answer. That's the right answer is whatever is for you. You just want to be honest with you. For me, having a studio has been grounding. It's been practical. It's given me consistency, connection, and separation. But it's also required intention, planning, and flexibility. And I'm glad I went into it with eyes open, and I did learn as I went. Now, before I close on this episode, I want you to know that even if you're not, should rephrase it. If you're thinking about maybe wanting a studio, look into your area, your town, your city, maybe a city that's a 30 minutes away from you. There might be studios that you can rent, and all of the things are there. We have these in Nebraska, in Lincoln and Omaha, maybe in other locations, but I'm closer to Lincoln to Omaha, so that's where I kind of know. We have some studio spaces that literally you walk in and you have all of the setups, you have the lighting, you bring your camera and your clients, and you know you you rent it for a certain amount of time and then you leave. So you could start with that if you're really thinking you want your own studio, or just stick with that, because then again, you don't have the overhead. You can put that rental into your session fee. So you're not paying for that session, or I'm sorry, for that rental. You are having your clients pay for that. So there are options if you're thinking, ooh, do I want a space? You could also think where I have a space now and I have grown into this space where I have a dedicated office area with the podcast now, and that I have a shooting area. Now, again, I grew into that in the years that I've been here, and the building, I was able to do that. But if you're thinking you just want an office space, you just want, like, say, that dedicated workspace, that dedicated place for, clients to meet you, things like that, you could definitely look into smaller places. You wouldn't need to have, say, a shooting space and an office, or, something that's a little bit smaller, I guess, so that a small office area where you can meet clients. So there are different options, and then that would also have different like pricing points as well. So there are options. And if you are just one that's like, no, I am good, I can do my editing at home. Maybe you have a dedicated space at home, you have an office there that you're working at, and then all of your photography is on location, then, stay with that. If this episode helped you think more clearly about studios, whether you want one, already have one, or no, it's just not for you, share it with a photographer friend who's in that decision making season. And if you want more honest conversations about real behind the scenes of this industry, make sure you are subscribed to this podcast. All right, guys, I will see you next time right here on The One Behind the Lens.